All right. Good morning, everybody. It is the Wifey Wake Up podcast. And good morning. Yes, it is still morning. My husband was giving me a little bit of, he was making fun of me because it's a little bit past sunrise, but it's Saturday and not everybody rises with the sunrise, although I like to. Anyways, John, did you hear that? And so it's still morning. Wifey wake up. Some people, it takes them longer to wake up. So good morning, wherever you are. Today, I have, well, as you probably see, the topic is I was being such a, the B word. So before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe. If this resonates with you, does a friend come to mind? Send it their way. And guys, especially if this is something that you wish more women knew, make sure to do the same. Like, comment, and subscribe and share, because that helps me to know what's resonating with you as well and what you would like the women to know. Because it is about communication. And sometimes it is really hard to hear from the person that you're with. And it's through other examples. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is sharing through my experiences, the experiences of our 20 plus year marriage with my husband, of course, and sharing that with you so that you don't have to go through the rough things in life to learn those lessons. So here's one of those. Okay, so the story goes, back at the end of 2020, I bought my first new vehicle. New as in new, not just new to me. And it was a very momentous moment. It was not only because I was the one paying for it and out of my business and had gotten to a state where I could do that. And I have to add that it was also with the help of my husband. He plays an integral role in the business as well. But also the choice of vehicle. It's, in my mind, a very nice vehicle. And it is still a 2020 Sequoia TRD Sport. So, a sizable investment as well in finances and the size of vehicle. So I was very, you could say, proud of that accomplishment. And I didn't know what other lessons that would come along with this. And that's what I'm sharing today. It's interesting how lessons can show up in so many ways. And I have this written out at the end, but I'll say it now. Thank God that this lesson was relatively gentle. It was through something that I was enjoying, and it just became apparent. So very quickly, there was kind of an issue between me and my husband, not on his part, but on my part, about the vehicle. So of course, when I chose the vehicle, we went to test drive, and he test drove, and I had no problem. Like, if he didn't think that it was the right vehicle, I would find something else. And or financially, like, I was paying for it out of my business, but we're connected anyways, no matter what. And so if he didn't think it was a wise move, we would of course discuss it. And so those things weren't an issue. It's so interesting what happened next, though. So I got to drive it off the lot. Well, we had of course driven there, so he would be driving the other vehicle. But when we got home and subsequent days, now that's when it started becoming apparent to me, and why I was being the B word. And it has always been in our relationship that he's the driver. He's a former racer, motocross and professional snowcross. And so he just, of course, is a better driver, for one. And two, I like it because I can just enjoy the view, enjoy the ride. So that's never really been a point of contention overall. But when I bought this new vehicle, I wanted to drive it. And so then it did. I mean, there were some times where I was like, no, I know you're usually the driver, but I want to drive. And then it became kind of I want to say standoff. I mean, it wasn't like a huge deal as far as like we didn't get in a shouting match or anything like that, but it was a point of contention, and particularly for me. And, that first year in particular, I would get jealous when he would take the vehicle and just be driving it himself, you know, for whatever reason. And, he would pick up hay or pine chips for the chickens and put it in the back, which, is really difficult to vacuum out, or the pine chips are really dusty. Yeah. He heard about that as well. And then, I wasn't happy that, he's like, I want to put a winch on it, and I would like to put red accents and this and that on it. And, just like at every turn, I'm like, it's not your vehicle. I mean, I didn't necessarily say it like that, but I might as well have, because the inference was there, right? And I'm like, no, no. Or he wanted to put different suspension in. I'm like, I don't want to negate the warranty, or, just all sorts of things. So, we kind of established boundaries, but, over time, and it took me a good year of us having these instances, and mostly within me, like he'd leave garbage in there, and there are a few things we've sorted out, but overall, what I realized was like, why am I getting upset by this? Like, why am I upset that he wants to drive the vehicle? I mean, what's the big deal? He's bought new vehicles for us before and, quote, let me drive them. But without question, like never saying, I want to take that vehicle today, or, why do you get to drive it? Or, I'm going to drive it, or whatever. I mean, just, kind of flipping the script, right? Putting the shoe on the other foot. And the more I realized how often this was coming up, like it was bothering me that he put the first scrape in the plastic in the back, or just a number of things. Or he's, when I was calculating and noticing that he was driving the majority of the miles, he probably still to date has driven at least 75% of the miles on the odometer on the vehicle. And it took me a good year to kind of get sick of myself being upset about these things, to question and realize, wow, I'm being really selfish. And am I being this way in other areas of life? And also to see what areas of life is he also generous and more generous than me. And it's practically every area. And it was a real eye-opener. Unfortunately, we didn't have to go through a major fight, a major issue. I mean, it just kind of was a lingering issue in me. And I finally just gave it up. I thought over that time, first of all, he's bought a couple of new vehicles. And like I said before, just without question, I could drive them. There was never, did you put gas in it? Did you pay for it? Did you wash it? Did you leave garbage in it? And again, never, never. And, the only thing is he'd politely say, on how to take care of it, right? Make sure, we had one vehicle, what was it? I don't know. It just might be a little tip on driving a certain kind of vehicle. But anyways, but never a point of contention. And then I also recognize how in other ways that he's also very generous. He will, for years has made sure that we had a safe place to live, that is clean and very decent. We've had the best food that you can buy, that, many people these days are realizing, that grass-fed, organic is really the best way to go. And we've had that since the beginning of our marriage. As soon as it became more prevalent and you could get that kind of food, especially, or seeking it out, going to farms and places where you could seek that out. And, you do little things that are big things as well. Like, he might be making a certain food and ask me if I want it, which is kind, first of all, and then say, later, I'm like, oh, wow, that does look really good. He would share it with me and not just say, well, you said you didn't want any. Similarly, food is obviously a big thing for me. He will save leftovers that he knows that I really like. I mean, just, from big to little things. And thankfully, like I said, I had this experience and had a relatively gentle way of learning these things. I mean, sometimes we have to learn lessons in a really, really rough way. And this was not one of them. I figured, okay, he's driving, but we still get to be together and enjoy the ride together in this vehicle that we both enjoy. And most of all, and maybe I'll end here as well, is considering, I started asking myself more the following questions, because it didn't just relate to the vehicle. Like, what are other areas of my life where this is coming up? And this is one that I didn't write down. I'm going to add here. First of all, asking myself, do I really have the time or money to share? It's really about sharing, right? It's not, yes, I recognize that I was being selfish, which is a healthy and necessary thing that we need to develop as a part of our personality for healthy boundaries and self-esteem. But that's like really rudimentary. We become adult, that's like a child. That's something you develop as a child. And hopefully as you mature, you're able to share more, which is much more I would say, an act of maturity than just learning how to establish boundaries, and is how to healthily go beyond those boundaries at certain times, like sharing. And so I've asked myself since, is it true? Do I really not have time or money or other resources to share with someone when I notice that feeling coming up? Because it's a similar feeling, right? Then fortunately, I experienced that with my husband, John, about, quote, sharing the vehicle. And when I felt that at other times and with other people, is it true? First of all, asking myself, is it true that I don't actually have those resources to share? And then next, why and I think most importantly, why am I hesitating to share something with the person I love the most? That we are one. That would technically mean that I'm not willing to share with myself. But even seeing us as individuals, like, why would I, if I say that I actually love someone enough to give my life to and commit my life to, why wouldn't I want to share with him? And that was a really big aha, a really big realization. And I still contemplate that today when maybe feelings like that come up. So it's a big admission, right? And I know that the B word might be extreme for some, but I think I was at least not being kind, loving, giving, sharing with the person I said I love the most. And thank God it was a gentle lesson. And also I thank my husband for being loving and patient and working through this with me. And it could have been a lot rougher, a lot more difficult, but especially for having the love and patience to work with me through this. And working on it every day still, it's quite a realization. So yeah, like I said at the beginning, like, comment, share. What comes to your mind when you hear this? Is it a little triggering for you? Or yeah, I'm curious what's going to come up with this one. In any case, have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.